How do you form a habit? When you do something and there is a reward for it, that's how you form a habit. You work out, you get into the shape that you want. There's a habit. There's a reward there that makes you want to do the thing that leads to the reward. So if you only get the really good times with this person after they hurt you, that unpredictability forms not a habit, but a compulsion. You start feeling this need to get the good side out of them. So you start trying harder. It's like how slot machines work. You know that there's a possibility that you will win, but you don't know when, and you don't know how many times you have to try, but you know there's a possibility, so you keep trying and trying. And that's where the obsession comes in. That's where you start feeling like, I don't even know why I'm so obsessed with this person. It's not them. It's the dynamic that they set up. Remember the power imbalance we talked about at the beginning? They set this system up so that you could try harder. A lot of the times it stems from them, from a place of insecurity, from a place of knowing that the only way for them to get you is to create a system where their affection and love and validation becomes the reward that you're going after, becomes the thing that you're trying extra hard to get to. There's another term that we talk about in narcissism, but it doesn't only happen with narcissism. It's triangulation. If a person doesn't think that you will love them exactly for who they are, they will introduce a third party into the dynamic that gets all of their love, all of their respect, all of their affection. You see, they're giving somebody else all the things they used to give me. So now, not only are you pining for their love and affection and validation, but you're also feeling the jealousy that they are giving what they used to give you to somebody else. There's competition there. So now they've made themselves the prize even more because they're showing you that they are all powerful. They are capable of giving you love, but they're choosing not to give it to you. They're capable of being respectful, but they're choosing not to be respectful with you. They're capable of being attentive. They're just not attentive with you. And so you keep trying harder because now you have further evidence in front of you on top of the fact that this is who they used to be at the beginning. They used to give me all that love and validation and affection, but now also they're giving it to somebody else. And for the longest time, they convinced me that life was too hard. And maybe the reason they weren't giving me all that love and affection and attention was because I did certain things. They gaslight and manipulate you into believing that the reason they changed with you is you. And if there is anything I want you to take away from today's episode is that it's not you. For somebody to walk into your life and to manufacture an entire image of a person who is healthy and loving and caring, a person who wants everything that you want, a person who's aligned with you, a person who's honest and a person who's loyal and committed and would never cheat and would never, however it is that they hurt you, insert that here. For somebody to do that and manufacture it and then just change out of the blue, that's not on you. That's on them. They want you to believe it's on you. It's not on you. If they were all of that and you were the reason that they changed, they would have walked away. That's the healthy thing to do. But they wanted to weaken you. They wanted you to see them as all powerful. Some people in this world, as sick as it may sound, only feel good about themselves when they're stomping all over somebody else. And that's the last kind of person that you want to be in a relationship with. If you recognize that, please continue listening and continue educating yourself on these topics. There is one analogy that will really help you. If you're watching me on YouTube right now, you'll see that I have a golden thread in my hands. And I actually use the golden thread analogy throughout The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You. Notice how it's the exact same color, just to help you visualize how healthy bonds are versus how unhealthy bonds are. And trauma bonds are one type of unhealthy bonds that I talk about in The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You. If you have a string or a thread around you, or if you don't, just watch me, but this will really help. The best analogy that I could give you for a trauma bond is, if you remember in Welcome Home, I talk about gold stitching, stitching your soul back together. That's part of self-love. It's part of telling yourself, if somebody broke me, I'm not going to hate the parts of me that they tried to convince me were the reason they broke me. So your sensitivity, your kindness, your vulnerability, your ability to see the best in people, they want you to believe that is why they broke you, but that's not why they broke you. They broke you because they made that decision. So part of putting yourself back together is saying, I'm going to love every single part of me that you made me believe made me deserve the pain that you put me through. And so to stitch yourself back together with gold means that stitching hurts, doesn't it? Imagine the physical act of stitching yourself back together. It hurts, but that's the way to heal. So a person you're trauma bonded to, they walk into your life and they make you believe that they finally see you the way that everyone in your life failed to see you. They see your childhood traumas. They see your triggers. They see the way that all the people in your life who you thought loved you didn't love you. And they fool you into believing that they can put you back together by giving you that love. And in a way, it feels like they've stitched you back together with this golden thread of love that they gave you. And so when they break you and they stitch you back up, and they break you and they stitch you back up, and they break you and they stitch you back up, remember, that's how a trauma bond is formed. If they are the only ones who are stitching you back together, what happens when they hurt you the next time? This is a really graphic analogy. Hey, I stitched you back together that last time that I hurt you, and now I'm hurting you again. It's like they're taking out the stitches while you're still bleeding. And that is why you beg them. That is why you beg them to take you back. That is why you beg them to see your side of the story. That is why you beg them to fix things. Because that thread that you thought was healing you from them was pulled out of you, and you're bleeding. What happens when you're bleeding? You're in survival. You want them to put that thread back into you again, as hurtful as that may be. It feels better than bleeding and being injured. And I'm sorry if you're listening to this and you're getting emotional. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. But if you are trauma bonded, or if you were in a trauma bond, I want you to give yourself so much grace, because I know you're blaming yourself for staying longer than you should. And I know you're blaming yourself for begging somebody who was repeatedly hurting you and hurting you worse each and every time. And you still begged them to fix things. You still begged them to be the person they were at the beginning. You still begged them to treat you right. And you blame yourself for that. I need you to give yourself some grace, because you weren't asking to be hurt. You weren't asking to be broken and put back together 1,000,000 times. You were asking to be loved. And you were set up for failure from the beginning. But you didn't know that. And how would you know that? When somebody meets you and they see you as this beautiful person, and you've known somewhere deep inside of you that you are a beautiful person and that you do deserve happy, healthy love, and they give you that, you don't think twice that maybe they're fooling me. You think, wow, I finally found somebody who sees me for who I am. So don't blame yourself. On a biological level, this makes sense even more, because when you are stressed out, you have an influx of cortisol in your body. That's the stress hormone. And then when you reconcile with that person through touch, through words of affirmation, through bonding in any way, you get oxytocin in your body, which is the same hormone that's released when parents bond with their babies, and when two people fall in love. So you're on this cycle of high cortisol and then high oxytocin, high cortisol, high oxytocin. So it feels like an addiction. And you know that after that highly stressful time and what your body goes through, there's going to be relief after that. There's going to be a good time after that. So you're constantly going for that next hit. Your body literally goes through withdrawal when you try to cut the trauma bond, because it is like an addiction. And you take the withdrawal feelings and the symptoms as, I need my next hit from them. I need to get back together with them. I need to explain to them one more time with different words, with different ways, with a different perspective, from a different angle. And so the cycle just keeps going. And this is the person who keeps stitching you back up and pulling that thread out of you, and stitching you back up and pulling that thread out of you. And you just, at certain points, go through cognitive dissonance where you're so aware, logically speaking, of how this person is hurting you. But you have enough evidence after all the isolation from everyone in your life and after them being your only support system that they're the only ones who can stitch you back up. They're the only ones who can fix you. And so you start minimizing the things they do. You start telling yourself, maybe I provoked this time. Maybe it was my fault. Maybe I said something wrong. And the truth is, after being in a trauma bond for a while, you do start behaving out of character, because your body is not meant to constantly be in a state of hypervigilance where you're like, what's the next thing that could go wrong? And am I doing something wrong? And you're walking on eggshells and you don't know what's going to anger them. You don't know what's going to piss them off. You don't know what's going to make them go really crazy. And then they shock you when they're really nice to you. But when you think back to those times, you're like, were they really nice to me? Or was it just the absence of chaos and anger and being afraid that I've learned to equate with, they're being nice to me, they're being good to me? Be honest with yourself about those positive moments. Were they actually nice to you? Or was it just the absence of chaos? Was it just the absence of stress? I want to take a moment to talk about attachment styles. I talk in depth about attachment styles in The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You, and the way that they teach us in different ways to seek healing from those who broke us. There's a particular attachment style that makes a person extremely susceptible to falling into a trauma bond, and that is called disorganized attachment. The really sad part about the development of this attachment style is that it's formed by having your parents as the source of love, or the adults in your life when you were an infant being the source of love, but also being the source of fear. You learn that the person who is your source of comfort and relief and feeling loved and feeling validated and receiving affection is the same person that you should be afraid of. And with everything we just talked about with trauma bonds, it's the perfect recipe for disaster. As we approach the ending of this episode, I want to remind you that your body is not meant to live in a constant state of confusion. Your body is not meant to live in a constant state of hypervigilance and holding your breath, waiting for the next moment that something bad is going to happen, that you're going to say something that they snap at, that you're going to say something that they unleash a barrage of negativity and cruelty and meanness over you. When your body lives in that state, it's surviving. That's the reason why you feel like you can't grow and flourish when you are trauma bonded. It takes over your whole life. And your body was never meant to live that way. Your body deserves to have moments of real rest. If you ever experienced being in a trauma bond, how many nights did you wake up after 10 hours of sleep still feeling like somebody hit you with a rock over your head? How many times? It's because it's not real rest. Your body is still bracing itself for the next negative thing that's going to happen. You're not meant for that. And if you spent years of your life living through that. Some people spend decades of their life living through that. It will take a while for you to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It will take a while for you. I get so many people saying things like, I broke the trauma bond. I left. I've been no contact. I did all the right things. Why do I still feel like crap? If you felt like crap for the last 10 years of your life, 2 weeks isn't going to do it. What's going to happen is your nervous system is going to learn how to regulate itself differently. It's going to learn to no longer go to the person who was hurting you for your cure, for your healing. And for that to happen, you're going to need to give it some time with the absence of that person. It's the same way that your body will heal from any form of addiction, to your phone, to alcohol, to drugs, to another person. That's how it works. You can't expect that the moment you let go of this source of pain, that you're all of a sudden going to heal. You need to give yourself time. You need to give yourself patience and grace and let your body relax for as long as it needs to. Don't distract yourself and push yourself into another relationship for you to feel like you're on track for where you want to be in your life. You're actually going to put yourself at a bigger risk of falling for the same pattern, because your body needs to really heal from it. Your body needs to learn. You need to learn that you are the one who gets to stitch yourself back together, not the people who hurt you. And don't sit there and tell me, but I hurt myself so many times. It is your responsibility to give yourself the same level of compassion you give everybody else in your life. It's your responsibility to give yourself the same level of forgiveness you are so willing to give to everybody else in your life. It is your responsibility to stitch yourself back up. Okay? And it's going to take time for you, when you've been used to letting somebody else make you feel good about yourself and make you feel like you're welcome, like you belong. It's going to take time for you to do those things for yourself. If you don't see value in the home you have within, why would you want to live in it? If you don't make a comfortable enough space within yourself for yourself to come to at the end of the day for all the validation you need and all the affection you need and all the positivity you need, why would you want to come home to yourself? You will take somebody's pain and torture if that's the only part of their home that they will welcome you into, if you value their home more than you value your own. Okay? I hope this episode helped you see trauma bonds for what they really are, and helped you remember that it doesn't mean you're a weak person if you were trauma bonded to someone, or if you are trauma bonded to someone. It just makes you human. Any person out there is susceptible to falling into a trauma bond, but especially the people who are empathetic, the people who are willing to see the best in others, the people who really believe in goodness, the kind ones, the nice ones. This doesn't mean that you tell yourself, okay, I'm not going to change anything moving forward. Now that the next time somebody walks into your life, and they start off by giving you 100 out of 100 positive moments and loving moments, and then they take that 100 down to 95, and there's a cruel moment, a moment where they show you that they disrespected you, a moment where they show you that they minimize something about you, that you're not all that you are. You don't let the 95 go down to 90. You let the 95 go down to 0. Because you just walked away from that person in your life. There is a lesson to be learned, and there is a way for you to get to the other side and never ever allow anybody in your life to get you hooked in a trauma bond ever again. I have a whole chapter in The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You titled The 7 Bonds. And it's about the 7 different types of bonds that hold us to people. And one of them is trauma bonds. And I talk about it throughout the book. And I've never said this before, but I will say it. This book was initially supposed to be about trauma bonds, but I didn't want to only talk about that. But you will see that theme woven throughout the book. And even when I don't say the words, if you've been through a trauma bond, this book will be like the golden thread that not only puts you back together, but it disappears and dissolves after you've healed. It doesn't leave the scars and the marks. Not only do I talk about trauma bonds and about how you need to reframe this idea that the one who broke you is the only one who can put you back together through an apology or through admitting what they did or through seeing them suffer, but I also tell you, what does a healthy bond look like? And how do you build that healthy bond? And how do you become the one who always fixes you, who always stitches you back together? How do you do that? All of that is in this book. You deserve to heal without the person who broke you. You deserve that. I need you to believe that. And if you do pre-order, there is a pre-order gift for you. I'll leave all the details in the show notes. And here's what I'm thinking. I would love the next episode to be on how to break a trauma bond step by step. But I don't know if you guys are interested in that. So if you are, leave me a comment or send me, it's called fan mail, but I don't look at it that way, through Buzzsprout, or send me a DM or an email. Let me know if that's the topic you want me to talk about next. If there are any other suggestions that you have, please send them my way. If I could end this episode with anything, it would be this. The place that injured you cannot be the place that puts you back together. You don't deserve to spend your life constantly breaking and putting yourself back together, and breaking and putting yourself back together, and breaking and putting yourself back together. You're not meant to live a life like that. You're meant to live a life where you have people around you who love you in such a way where they don't need to break you and then put you back together, or push you and lift you back up, or push you down a cliff and then put a rope so that you could get their help to get back up, for them to prove to you that they actually love you. People who genuinely love you and who are healthy for you don't need to make you attached to them in such a way where they are your only savior. I hope this episode helped bring you healing beyond words. And until next time, have a wonderful day.